All right. I think we are live. Awesome. Awesome. Good to see you here, Richard. Yes. Thank you for the birthday wishes. And yes, of course. Absolutely. Can you hear me just fine? Is everything sounding great? I'm going to give everybody some time to get in just for a little bit before we dump right into all of the stuff I have prepared today. I worked really hard on getting everything all set up. I'm pumped about this. Hello, George. Good to see you. Can everybody hear me just fine? Crystal, clear as crystal. Awesome. Good to know. Elijah says, "Hi, sir. What's everybody drinking tonight? I have a bit of mint tea. My wife got me this coffee mug for my birthday, and it's got a heated little bottom on it, which is awesome. It's like it just sits on a little thing and charges, and then it heats. It's awesome. 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 Everything's looking good. Yeah, so I'm drinking a bit of mint tea out of that. I love tea. And I also have water here as well. We're going to be really diving deep into this subject tonight. So, yeah, dude, absolutely. I'm excited about this. We're going to go deep into vocals tonight, how to get great sounding vocals without analog gear, expensive mics, or even acoustic treatment. Clinton says, "Hi there." Hi, how's it going? I'm excited about this tonight. This is quite the project I've been taking on. There's vocals is like one of those things where you just have to get it right, and everybody listens to vocals first, right? That's the first thing everybody listens to. You know, when you go back and forth with people and they're like, this sounds good, this sounds good, they're usually listening to your vocals, right? And the people that aren't even musicians are listening to vocals first because that's what they like to do. They like to listen to the lyrics. And so getting vocals perfect from the start, just getting them to sound right from the start, is just a way, way better way to go. Um, Richard says, "I love the style of producing. No analog gear needed, and you've proved that." Yeah, and not just me, okay? I'm just a guy on YouTube teaching you how to do what I've done, right? There's people that have won Grammys. I haven't won a Grammy yet, but there's people that have won Grammys that have not used analog gear as well. I mean, Billie Eilish's brother, Phineas, has done tons of stuff without analog gear, right? Daniel says, "Happy birthday." Yes, thank you. Thank you. I am a whole whopping 26. Sorry, excuse me. Hi, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name properly, but Musol from Zambia, Africa. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. Thank you for being here. I'm pumped about it. What time is it in Africa right now? George says, "Happy birthday, sir." Man, I am pumped. Yes, thank you. I am pumped about this today. Yeah, so I'm drinking mint tea. What's everybody else drinking? I'm really excited to see. 26 is young. Richard says, "I'm turning 34 in April." That is young as well. I've noticed, like, my father he's going to be turning, I think he's 58 right now, and he is still, like, unbelievably young, right? So, like, it's crazy because I used to think like, oh man, I'm starting to lose it. I'm starting to lose, as another year passes, I'm starting to lose that opportunity to be able to do these kind of things. And I read somewhere in a book, I can't remember what book it was. I wish could remember, but it basically said that it only takes 20 solid, hardcore hours to learn something. Like if you dedicate 20 hours into learning something, you can get pretty proficient at it. You're not going to be an expert, but you're going to get really proficient at it. People usually just wait years and years and years to start the first 20 hours. And man, that hurt when I felt that. I was like, oh man, I feel that. I understand exactly what that means. So, yeah, this is starting the first 20 hours is something that's very, very, very important. Everybody should start and just get into it, Wistable Bay Pale Ale. Oh yes, I love a good pale ale. I'm an IPA fan, and I'm also a stout fan. Like if I'm gonna go with beers, it's probably gonna be either a stout or a porter, and then an IPA would be second. There's just something about those darker colored beers I really really enjoy. All right, and I'm pumped. We should start getting directly into it here. I said I wanted to give people a few minutes to get kind of settled in, and make sure that everybody's got a drink and got ready to go. Make sure that people are ready to rock and roll here. If you see me looking down over here, I'm looking at you guys' chat box and stuff, so I'm pumped about it. Can everybody see me just fine? You can see the little slide I got here. How to get perfect vocal mixes without analog gear, expensive mics, or acoustic treatment. Jeremiah Red Ale. Oh, you guys are drinking lots of ales tonight. I should have brought one up with me. But I got a lot to do, and for some reason, just mint tea just works really, really well when I'm working in the DAW. Just for me personally. All loud and clear. Awesome. I'm pumped about it. Yeah, I love this mic. This is the PD70. I'll get into that in a little bit later, but it's like a Shure SM7B copycat. But, man, it sounds great. It really does. And also, I'm just a fan of Personas in general. Coffee here. Yes, coffee is great as well. Recently, I've noticed I can't drink coffee past, like, 5, 6 p.m. if I actually plan on getting any sleep over the weekend. So, all right. So, without further ado, I say we should get right into all of the context here. I definitely mispronounced it. You can call me by my first name, John. All right, John, thank you. It is 1:06 a.m. I had to wait for this. Was actually dozing. Oh my gosh, man, don't let me hold you up. If you guys also have a replay for this as well because you registered, which is I'm just pumped about. But yeah, man, while you're here and you're able to send questions, there is going to be a Q&A at the end of all this, right? So I'm going to be teaching for a while, and then I'm going to open everything up to a Q&A and answer your guys' questions towards the end. And yeah, this is quite big. I also have a surprise gift for you at the end as well. I guess it's not too much of a surprise because I'm going to be getting into it right about now. So here we go. Is everybody ready? Is everybody ready to dive into how to get great vocal mixes without analog gear, expensive mics, or even acoustic treatment? If you're excited about this and you're ready for it, let me know in the chat below. I'm pumped about this myself. This is one thing that I struggled with for a very, very, very long time, and it was kind of a pain in my side as far as just trying to get vocals to sound good. That people want their vocals to sound great, and when I was recording with other people, they just wanted their vocals to sound great, and it's a tough thing. But once you get it nailed in, you get it dialed in, you have a system, and I'm going to show you that system today. It's almost inevitable. So Elijah says, yes. John says, it's all right. I wanted to watch you live. Elijah says, I am ready. I am as well. Man, let's get into this. So without further ado, this is how to get perfect vocal mixes without analog gear, expensive mics, or even acoustic treatment. Okay. I'm going to switch to here, so you guys can just see this. We're really going to focus right in on this. How to get perfect vocal mixes without analog gear, expensive mics, or even acoustic treatment. Okay? My goal is I'm going to show you how you can get professional sounding vocals every single time, even if you don't have acoustic treatment, expensive mics, or even analog gear. By the end of this masterclass, you will have a system to get pro vocals every single time you record, all from the comfort of your home studio. Now, in the next 45 minutes, my plan is to teach you how to record clean, rich-sounding vocals even if you don't have a vocal booth or acoustic treatment, how to make any mic sound full using the proximity effect, how the pros get perfect vocal takes every single time even if they make mistakes using an industry-standard technique all the pros use, and how to mix your vocals into a beat or song to make it sound like it's a part of the music and not just awkwardly sitting alongside it. And man, if you've ever tried to record vocals, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. If you stay until the end, there will be a Q&A at the end, and I will give you a private download link to the 7 golden frequency checklist. So this is just for people who stay until the end. This is just a quick cheat sheet of 7 golden frequencies that I seem to grab every single time I grab an EQ, and they just work in just about every single mix that I do. So you guys are really going to enjoy that, but this is only for people who stay until the end. A couple important reminders. You must be passionate about working on music. I can't give you that, right? If you're not passionate about working on music, you're not going to be able to take what I teach you and really just dive into it on your own. And look, you're here, you're watching this, you're a smart cookie, and you are very passionate about working on music. This is just an important reminder. If you're not passionate about working on music, you can just leave right now, because this is for the people that are really passionate and really into it. Now look, you actually need to do the work to see the results. This is not a one-button solution. It takes a bit of work, and you need to actually take action on what you learned today. Now, I do suggest turning off your phone and putting it on airplane mode or do not disturb, because look, I have a lot to cover and not a lot of time. So if you're watching this on your phone, you can just swipe down on whether it's an iPhone or whatever and put it on do not disturb, but I highly recommend turning off all distractions for this masterclass. Real quick, this is who I am. It's just a little bit of credibility so that way you know that you can listen to me. I'm Andrew Barr, and I've made money working with bands and artists and musicians all over the world for over 7 years. I built ProducingInTheBox.com in 2021 to help musicians get incredible sounding music without analog gear. And why you're here, I've engineered songs that have played on the radio. I've even worked with some of the most popular brands you guys have probably noticed is Slate Digital, DistroKid, Kit Plugins, and even Submarity, which is the sound designers for Marvel Studios. So I do know what I'm talking about. I don't mean to say this as a way to pat myself on the back. It's just a way to actually give some credibility so that way you guys know that I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm teaching you. This is just a couple things of what people are saying. John says, you simplify everything. You're the bar I want to reach, and you seem to understand everything. Very nice, but the best part is, best of all, your explanations are easy to understand. Thank you so much. And I just thought that was awesome. There's a couple posts that I got from my YouTube channel as well. Like, this information this channel provides is priceless, a highly underrated channel. And bro, just found your videos, learned something in the first minute, man. Impressive. Now, this is just what other people are saying about what I've been teaching. So there's credibility here, and I don't say this to pat myself on the back. I really don't. I really just want to show you that you can listen to what I'm saying. Now, look, here's my story, and I promise I'll be quick. I started bare bones, man. The photo on the left there is my studio at my parents' house when I first started producing music. I had a laptop that I got for school. Was using it for school and in school, and I was also using GarageBand to produce music. This is actually not the first studio I ever had. It was actually more bare bones than this. I had an end table that I had a stage monitor sitting next to me because I played live music, so I had a stage monitor, and I was mixing out of that stage monitor. I did eventually upgrade, quote unquote upgrade, and get some JBL monitors, and they were actually great monitors, and then I put all of that on a card table. Okay, that was my first studio desk. The photo on the right is basically the same gear, but I actually had a better desk. I just put everything on a better desk. I had upgraded my desk, and I was able to get my speakers setting at a decent height there. That secondary monitor that I have, I got at a yard sale for like $15, right? I started at the basics. Look, I didn't have money to invest in all of this analog gear that I thought I needed. And thank God that I didn't at the time, because it really allowed me to deep dive into actually how to use this gear that I have. I did get into gear later on, and I realized that was a mistake, but I will get to that in a little bit. Actually, you know what? Might as well just right now. I was at a buddy's house who is down in Nashville right now. He's a phenomenal man. Honestly, I love the guy to pieces. But he had quite a studio set up. He had everything that you can imagine, like, you walked in and you saw like Universal Audio and API and Neve and Burl, and like if you recognize any of those names, that's all in the analog space. And it was amazing, man. It was like I was like a kid in a candy store walking into his place. And I go into his studio, and I get a chance to actually sit in the driver's seat with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear. And I realized something. My mixes sounded the same. I was not getting better mixes with the analog gear. In fact, they were a lot worse because it was all of this gear I had no idea how to use. And I remember driving home that day feeling absolutely destroyed because I thought that I didn't have what it takes to actually be good at what I do, and that's just a lie. So look, I learned what I'm about to teach you the hard way, and it took me over 10 years of making mistakes, figuring out the strategies, philosophies, and techniques that I'm going to share with you in this workshop. The hard way that I took was wasting time turning knobs and dials aimlessly until you accidentally get it right. Wasting time and money learning new plugins, mics, and maybe even hardware, only to have the same result you had before you wasted money on new gear. And also, I tried to network and learn from the pros that know what they're doing, but had nothing of value to offer them. And maybe you feel that way too. The professionals know what they're doing, and if you have no idea what you're doing, you have nothing of value to offer them, and you'd love to learn underneath them. But the only thing you could possibly do is grab them coffee. So I want to show you what you can actually use today. So, would you like to learn the best way to record professional radio-ready vocals with the gear and the room you already have? Yes, John, yes, 10 plus years. I started back when I was like 16, a little bit before then. And I've just been deep diving into it ever since. So yes, awesome. Let's get right into this. So here's the opportunity. Since learning this system, I've worked with artists all over the world, made incredible music in my home studio, worked with Fortune 500 brands, and taught this exact system with success to many others just like you. Okay? Before I show you my repeatable step-by-step system for getting professional sounding vocals, I do need to bust some myths. And I know you at least can relate to one of these myths. Myth number 1. I need analog gear to get professional recordings. This is just simply not true. Artists like Phineas, Billie Eilish's brother and producer, have won Grammys for music recorded in a bedroom studio with no analog gear at all. Myth number 2, I need an expensive microphone. Remember Phineas, Billie Eilish's brother and producer? Well, he recorded one of Billie Eilish's most popular songs, Ocean Eyes, on an Audio-Technica AT2020. I have this mic. It's a phenomenal mic. It's a $99 condenser mic. And this is the song that actually kickstarted her career. One of the most popular vocal mics of all time is the Shure SM7B and has recorded thousands of #1 hits. And look, if you don't want to spend $400 on a mic either here, a quick hack for you, the Shure SM57 has basically the same internals as a 7B. It just doesn't really have that big casing that surrounds the microphone in the capsule. So if you use the SM7 or SM57, you just put a pop filter in front of the 57 and it'll sound almost identical to a 7B. Yeah, John says, I'm so guilty of myth number 2. Yeah, me too, dude, me too. I've spent a lot of money on microphones. Now, myth number 3, I don't have the ear or talent to make my recordings sound professional. Ah, man, I feel your pain, but this just isn't true. It may be true that this stuff comes more naturally, more to some than others, but I like to quote my favorite movie of all time, Ratatouille. Anyone can cook, and anyone can get great sounding vocal recordings. In fact, the strategies I'm showing you today will make great vocal recordings inevitable. So are you ready to start learning my step-by-step system for great sounding vocals? Let me know in the chat below if you're ready to really dive into this. And have you guys had an aha moment so far busting a couple myths? Daniel says, music is not as easy as everyone thinks. No, it's not. And honestly, one of the things that really helped me move forward is understanding that music doesn't have to be perfect. And in fact, it's better if it's not perfect. And we're going to get into that here in just a minute. George says ready. All right, awesome. Let's go. All right, so step one. Oh, and John says ready. I am ready. Awesome. All right, so step one, capture a great performance. So, what is a great performance? This is what I like to capture, okay? I like to capture the tone, the breath control, and the pitch. And I said sometimes here because if the first two are really, really good, then sometimes I can fix the third with a little bit of auto-tune or a tuning plugin of some sorts. Tuning only fixes pitch. It doesn't fix everything else. It only fixes pitch. So it can't make you sound like anybody you want. So you want to be able to capture tone and breath control. And by tone, I mean, are you singing nasally like this? Or are you singing with a very deep, rich voice like this? How is the tone coming through the microphone? And if you're recording yourself, you can pay attention to that. If you're recording somebody else, kind of coach them through the tone you're looking for. Now, breath control is kind of cool because there's staccato and legato. Staccato is very short and to the point, and there is gaps in between each word. That's where breath control comes in, because if you are fluently singing through all of your words and there's not a single space in between any of your words, then it's just going to sound a lot more natural unless you're going for that vibe and if there's something very specific that you're looking for. Now, breath control is where your breathing comes in. You want to know where you breathe. In fact, I've had vocalists in the studio mark down, I need to breathe here after this line. I need to breathe here after this line. And so I am very, very careful on where I get my breaths. You can cut out breaths later on, but if you have a breath in between every single word, it's just going to sound really, really bad. You can't fix that later on, okay? And then, of course, the pitch. You can only adjust pitch so much. Auto-tune does not fix everything. Even I would like it to, but it will not fix everything. And so you have to get pretty close on those three things. And that's why I said pitch on sometimes. Now, step two is to get your source quiet. This is a big, big deal, and this is something I didn't realize. Now, there's a couple ways to get your source quiet. Now, number one is, of course, acoustic treatment on the walls, like I have. This is something that you don't have to have, okay? If you're trying to get great sounding vocals, you don't have to have acoustic treatment. It's nice to have if you have a dedicated studio, if you're able to hang stuff on your wall in your apartment or place that you're renting. But if you can't, that's fine. There's ways around it. One of the ways around it is a vocal shield, like the eyeball. I'm sure all of you guys have seen. It's basically a piece of foam that a microphone sticks inside of. It's amazing. And there's other different types of vocal shields as well that kind of go around the microphone. It just basically sits right behind the microphone to make sure it just cancels out any other sounds that are coming behind, ricocheting off your walls. Now, this is one of my favorites. The next one is the pop-up acoustic treatment technique. Look, blankets, closets. If you have a closet with a bunch of clothes in there, get in there and close the door. If you have mattresses just laying around, just hang those up or lay them up against the wall or around where you're singing. Towels actually are really, really good at capturing sound. You can just drape towels and blankets over your head and over the microphone and sing into that. Look, my dad always likes to say, if it works, it works. Look, it doesn't have to look pretty. No one's going to see you. They're just going to hear you, and it needs to sound good. That's why I call it the pop-up acoustic treatment technique, because I used to have a couple moving blankets, and I would hang them on a little clothing rack that I had. And then I would ask the vocalist to sing, and then I'd take everything down and put it away. And so I just called it my pop-up acoustic treatment technique. Now, number 4, this is underrated. This is like highly underrated, is dynamic microphones. Like the SM58, the SM57, the SM7B, the PD70 that I'm speaking into right now. These are very directional. Dynamic mics are very directional, and they're really good at canceling out sounds that happen around the microphone. So, for example, I'm talking directly into my microphone right now. I'm just going to shift my head a little bit off to the side and talk around the back of the microphone. And now you're having a really tough time hearing me because it's canceling out all the sounds around the microphone. These are incredible mics. Look, the 58, the 57, and the PD70 are all about $100. The 7B is a $400 microphone. But like I said, the 57 is almost identical to the 7B. Next is we want to record at a decent level. This is all about gain staging, and I don't want you to worry too much about this, but this is a step that you need to pay attention to. I like to shoot for around -18 to -9 dB of input gain. And as far as mic control, I really want to pay attention to mic control as far as going backwards and forwards as I get louder. So if I'm singing loud like this, I will back away from the microphone, and then I will get closer to the microphone if I'm very quiet. I'm looking for a more intimate style vocal take. Now, between those two things, recording at -18 to -9 dB of input gain, you can also record separate takes with different gain settings. And I do this all the time. I will have a vocalist sing a chorus very loudly, and then when they go to do a verse or a bridge where it's a bit quieter, I will just turn the gain up and have them get closer to the microphone. -18 to -9 is just an average great spot to be. If you don't reach that, you're fine. If it's a little too loud, you can always turn it down. And if it's a little too quiet, you can always turn it up later on. The gear that we have today is just phenomenal. There's no such thing as a noise floor really anymore unless you are using analog gear, which I just don't recommend. I am all in the box. Now, if you are clipping, if it's too loud and you're clipping, you really can't fix that. And you're basically going to have to re-record. So that's why I say -18 to -9 is a sweet spot, and a lot of plugin manuals will say that that is a sweet spot as well. Now, how to make any mic sound full with the proximity effect. Now, the closer you get to the mic, the more low end and boomier the sound. This is how radio and movie trailer announcers get that big boomy voice. Here, let me demonstrate it for you really quick. So if I back away from my microphone, it's going to sound a bit thin. But as I get closer to my microphone, I have a big boomy voice that just seems to really shake the low end of speakers. But as I back away, it starts to thin out just a little bit. That's because not all frequencies are treated the same. Lower frequencies will sound louder the closer you get to a microphone. And higher frequencies will sound louder the farther away you get from a microphone. And it's just because frequencies aren't the same. Not everything is the same. And that's why they call it the proximity effect, because the closer you are, the proximity you are between you and your microphone, it'll change the way things sound. You can do this for guitars, you can do this for drums, everything. And vocals seems to be the biggest culprit of this. Now, it's a powerful trick, but you need to use this technique sparingly. Too much can ruin a performance. I like to shoot for roughly 3 to 6 inches away from my microphone and use a pop filter to control the distance. So for example, if I have a pop filter up on my microphone, I will use a pop filter and put it about 3 inches away from my microphone and tell my vocalist or myself to don't get any closer than 3 inches. So don't get any closer than that pop filter. And you can back away if you need to, but just don't get any closer than that pop filter, because I know if I go any closer, I'm going to create too much low end and it's going to sound rumbly and it's just not going to sound great. So 3 to 6 inches away from your microphone. So how do we treat a good vocal recording? Okay, so now we have a pretty good spot. How do we treat it? This is where we get to jump into the DAW. And man, I am just excited about this part. This is the part I'm sure everybody is just pumped for. How has the first part of this been so far? Have I busted any myths for you? Have I really helped you realize how things are? And have I given you some insights? Have you had an aha moment so far in this masterclass? Awesome. Awesome. So here I have the DAW. I'm going to make sure that everything is sounding great so you guys can hear it. I'm going to press play real quick. And let me know if you guys can hear this. Awesome. Awesome. Making sure that everybody can hear that just fine. And making sure that everybody is up to date on where we are in the masterclass so far. John says, yes, for me, it was about the gain staging. yeah, gain staging is super important. It's like one of those things you don't want to go too far with and whatnot. So, happy birthday, Andrew. The war right now. Yes, I agree with John as well. I pray that peace is restored in your country as well. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate you being here and taking your time. I'm glad you have chosen to spend that time a little bit with me, where I'm able to teach you this stuff. Thank you for being here. Elijah says, yes, I am loving this. Richard says, I think I've heard this so many times during my at-home practice, but I think I know the lyrics at heart by now. Yes. This is a good song. This is a good song. I wanted to bring it up for this reason here. And so here I have some of the vocals, and I really want to break down how I treat some of these vocals. So remember when I said that you could get any vocal to sound great, even if you made a couple mistakes using an industry standard technique? Yeah, this is the one, okay? This is called comping vocals. And if you don't know what comping vocals is, it's essentially taking a vocal and recording it multiple times and then taking the best parts of all of those vocals. So, to really kind of drive this home, I am going to center these vocals here because they're doubles, and I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to create a new track, and then I want to solo this vocal here, okay? He recorded this once. Now let's say I loved the way that sounded, okay? I will take this part from here and then listen to the second part from this vocal. So I know that I like this part here. So now I can take this part from this vocal, okay, and this part from this vocal, and this part from this vocal, and I have one solid vocal take throughout. You're my anchor, and I know that I will not be moved, and I put my trust in you. How cool is that? That's called comping vocals. And in fact, there's a Britney Spears song that actually has like every other word or something like that is a brand new vocal take. I wish I knew the specific song that was. And you can do this as many times as you like. I like to shoot for around 3 to 5 different takes all the way through. And then I will take the best parts of each one. And if I need anything else, I will have the vocalist re-record those specific parts. Okay, so we can take multiple takes, chop them up, and put them into one track. So even if you made a mistake here, and here, and here, you can take all of those and put them into one individual track. And in fact, that's not just a way to get around some mistakes. Even if you didn't make a mistake and you like the way this part sounded more than this part, then use it. It's a very, very, very powerful tool, and I use it all the time. So now I want to get into, I like to call them the three sisters of mixing vocals. Will now forever sing. So I have a great sounding lead vocal already so far, but I really want to kind of get rid of everything, and I'll show you how the three sisters work, and I'm going to show you how to do it without any special plugins whatsoever. Now, here we have a vocal. It's a very dry vocal, and I'm going to turn it up here. What offering could I bring that's worthy of my King? Now, the first thing I do before I get into throwing any plugins on whatsoever is I like to go and edit out any of these quiet parts. You could do this with a gate if you'd like. I like to do this manually. So I will take this and take this, and then I will delete those, and then I will add just a little crossfade here and here. That way you don't hear anything, people like, you know, licking the lips or breathing or anything in between all of those takes. I get a very clean cut take.
that's worthy of my king.
And be sure not to cut too much. If you cut too much, you're going to cause problems, and it will just start to sound a little bit too robotic. If you definitely want to add some breaths, or make sure that you're still leaving some breaths in there. And then I will go through this whole thing, and I will just eliminate all those spots, and then I will add some fades, so that way I have nice, clean, tight vocals.
Art that once was lost will now forever sing.
Awesome. All right, so that's how we get clean vocals. Everything's sounding really, really good. I can eliminate this at the beginning as well and add my fades. So now I want to talk about the three sisters of mixing vocals, okay? Number one is compression. Compression is a very, very powerful tool. It's essentially like a very fast volume knob. And I love using compression in stages. So here we have a compressor, and this is the threshold. And then, of course, the ratio, which is how much compression it is. I usually like to shoot for a 4-to-1. And then there's going to be this little blue dot that's going to show you how loud the vocal actually is and how loud we are bringing this down. We want to take control over these peaks and kind of cut them just a little bit.
What offering could I bring?
So that I bring.
Could I bring?
I usually like to shoot for like -3 dB of gain reduction as a max on the first one.
Of my king. Art that once was lost will now forever sing.
So that's sounding pretty good so far. Now what I can do is, since I turned it down by 3 dB on the loudest part, okay, because that's how much it was compressing, now I can take this makeup gain and I can increase this by 3 dB. So now I have cut the tops off by 3 dB, and I'm bringing the quieter parts up louder by 3 dB.
What offering could I bring? That's worthy of my king.
It gets the vocal just up front, and it's a bit subtle, but I really, really, really like to use compression in this way. And so now I will throw on a second compressor, but after the second sister, which is EQ. EQ is by far the most powerful tool that you have access to as a music producer. This will shape the sound more than anything else in your arsenal, so use EQ well and carefully. We're going to give it a bit of a low cut. I like to low cut it right around 100-ish hertz for male vocals, and then maybe even a little bit more for female vocals. And then I will have a 24 dB over octave slope on that. It just means it's a steeper slope. You don't have to have that, but you definitely want to cut anything that's kind of rumbling in the lower frequencies.
What offering could I bring?
Now, I like to add just a bit of air onto this vocal so it kind of gets clear and can poke through a mix.
What offering could I bring? That's worthy of my king.
Now, I also have another thing, which is a bit of honkiness down in here. And if you stay to the end, this will be one of the frequencies that I will show you all about in the 7-frequency golden frequency checklist. So make sure you stay to the end to get that check sheet or cheat sheet.
What offering could I bring?
So there's this vocal right here.
What offering could I bring?
This is kind of down near the fundamental frequency, and I like to cut it just a little bit so it's not too much.
What offering could I bring?
Actually, you know what? That sounded really good.
What offering could I bring?
I think actually I want to boost that just a touch. See, every vocal is just a bit different, but that's the fundamental frequency, which is the lowest frequency point in that vocal, outside of the rumbling and the tapping of feet and stuff like that.
What offering could I
And then I want to take a bit of this honk at around 600, 500 hertz, and I want to cut that right out.
What offering could I bring? That's worthy of.
So let's see how far we've gotten just with this EQ.
What offering could I bring?
See how much clarity comes through?
What offering could I bring?
and I only made just a few moves. Cut some of the low end, actually boosted that fundamental frequency just a little bit because I liked how thick it sounded and how rich it sounded. Boosted the highs here, and then I cut around 500 to 600 hertz, which is a more common frequency for honk. Now I like to add sister number 1 again, which is a compressor. I like to slam this one pretty hard, and this is where I really adjust my attack and release back and forth.
What offering could I bring that's worthy of my king?
My goal here is to get a significant amount of gain reduction, okay? I really want to just set that vocal right in its face.
What offering could I bring?
And then just kind of ignorantly turn up the makeup gain.
What offering could I bring that's worthy of my king?
Now, the attack knob is where a lot of that initial attack comes from, and if you turn it this direction, so slow it down, you're going to actually allow some of those transients to come through in those vocals, and then this is how quickly the compressor comes back after attacking that vocal. This is why I like to use 2 compressors, one to kind of tame it a little bit, go into the EQ, and then I like to slam the sound here.
What offering could I bring that's worthy of my king?
Around 8 milliseconds sounds good.
Art that once was lost will now forever sing. What offering could I bring?
That's sounding really, really good so far. So just between the compressor, EQ, and then another compressor, let's see how far we've gotten.
What offering could I bring
So off,
that's worthy of
on,
my king? Art that once was lost will...
Yeah, already a lot better. Now, this is where the third sister comes into play, and this is one of my absolute favorites. The third sister in the 3 sisters of mixing vocals is saturation. And now you can use a free plugin called Saturation Knob by Softtube. It's a great free plugin. Or I like to use Red Light Distortion that is built directly into Studio One. But for the sake of this video and making sure that I am completely DAW agnostic, I will use Saturation Knob. It's a completely free plugin, and it's amazing. It is very, very simple. You have one knob for saturation, and then you can keep high, neutral, or keep low. I'm just going to leave it right at neutral, and then I'm going to turn the saturation knob up and listen to the difference it adds in that vocal.
What offering could I bring that's worthy of my king? Art that once was lost will now forever sing. What offering could I bring?
So you can go crazy with that if you want to, but I like to keep it chill just a little bit to make sure it's kind of backed off and everything is sounding good. It adds a bit of thickness to that vocal and actually adds more frequencies in that vocal. So if you have that initial fundamental and then some of the other frequencies stacked on top of it, saturation kind of adds more, fills out the frequency spectrum, and makes things sound rich. So let's turn it off and we'll turn it back on again.
What offering could I bring
So with it on,
that's worthy
off,
of my
on.
king? Art that once was lost will now forever sing.
How is that sounding so far? I think it sounds phenomenal.
What offering could I bring that's worthy of my king?
Now, just to show you where we started with, I'm going to turn everything off. Now I'm going to turn it back on.
What offering could I bring that's worthy of my king? Art that once was lost will now forever sing.
All right, so now we've got a really, really good sounding vocal with 3 simple plugins. I love this so much. This is my favorite thing I do, man. This is absolutely so much fun. So I wanna break down one other thing. So I've talked about how you can get great sounding vocals using the comping technique, how to record great sounding vocals, and now about the three sisters of how to mix vocals. Now, I'm sure you've noticed it sounds a bit dry.
What offering could I bring that's worthy of my King?
Yeah, that sounds pretty dry, and it's sounding pretty basic. And it sounds like it's sitting alongside my music and not in my music. And now this is where it gets good. This is the time-based effects. So under here, under sends, I'm going to create a new bus. Every single DAW has an option for a bus. I'm just going to create an effects channel here, and I'm going to call this one Vocal Effects. Now what I'm doing is I'm sending this exact same signal to a new fader, which will have a bit of delay. I like to use repeater. You can use any delay at all. It doesn't matter. Analog, ping pong. And then I will turn the feedback up around here. So this is what delay with the vocal sounds like. It's quite a lot. Let's get back to that original vocal here so we can hear exactly what's going on here. So I'm going to solo this.
That's worthy of my King. That once was lost with.
Now that sounds good. We're getting it to a very good spot, but here's where it gets better. So now I'm going to add a bit of reverb. Once again, you can use any reverb you want. One of my ultimate favorite reverbs is the built-in stock reverb inside of Studio One.
What offering could I bring?
And I like to turn this up around 50%, maybe even a little bit more. So what I'm doing is that is going into the delay first, and then it's going into the repeater, so that way it doesn't sound so staccato. It sounds very natural and smooth.
That's worthy of my King. That once was lost will now forever sing. What
So without it,
offering could
with
I
it.
bring that's worthy?
And now, of course, we have to listen to it in the context of the mix so you can really hear the difference.
What offering could I bring that's worthy of my King? That once was lost will now forever sing.
So much better. Without it,
what offering could I bring
now with it.
that's worthy of my King? That once was lost will now forever sing.
And now you can blend that in with that fader there, with that bus fader. So we have gone over quite a bit so far on vocals. I've gone over how to get great sounding vocals from the source, how to mix them, how to comp them together to get great sounding vocals there. I've talked about the three sisters, compression, EQ. The secret trick I like to add is a second compressor after that, and then saturation. I've even talked about how to get your vocals to sound great inside of the DAW. Now, everything together, I want to turn it all on and all off in the context of the mix. So everything off. No vocal effects, nothing. And now everything on.
That once was lost will now forever sing.
So much better. And then I just want to show you one more time with it soloed, so nothing else. No vocal effects.
What offering could I bring
And now effects.
that's worthy of my King?
And now the time-based effects.
That once was lost will now forever sing.
Awesome. We've gotten very, very close to a completely mixed vocal. In fact, I would probably print this and send it. It sounds phenomenal. Now, the past hour, would you agree that it has been time well spent so far? Have you enjoyed the time that you've been here? I've gone over quite a bit. Yes, John says there's a big difference. He says, yes, it sounds great. Yeah, awesome. I've gone over quite a bit. I've gone over how to get a great sounding vocal at the source. I've gone over how you can make any vocal sound great using a comping technique. And I've gone over how to mix your vocals using the 3 sisters and the secret trick with the second compressor. And I've also gone over how to make your vocals sound like they are in your music and not alongside your music. That has been my promise for this past hour. And now, look, I can't cover everything we need in a single hour workshop, even if we had all day. I've only scratched the surface. Now, I have a very special offer for you so you can get everything you need to know. And in fact, if you act fast, I'm going to make you a very special proposition. So I want to know, can I share something with you? Something I'm very, very excited about, something I built for my birthday, and I just cannot wait to share it with all of you guys. Awesome. Clinton says, open my eyes to how easy it is. Yes. Oh, excuse me. Yes, very easy once you know exactly what to do. Awesome. Elijah says, yes, I love this. Dope. I love this. John says, yes, the hour has been very worthy. You're making me understand vocal production way better. Awesome. I'm super excited. So let's get into this. This is I like to call it the producer arc. Stage 1, you have poor sounding mixes. Stage 2 is learning to get great recordings. Now, a lot of times people will stay in stage 1, go to stage 2, and then they will learn the wrong things and do the wrong things and take them back to stage 1. Stage 3 is getting great mixes, and stage 4 is getting radio-ready songs. Now, look, you have 2 options. Option 1 is you waste time and money trying to figure this out yourself. You aimlessly try new mics, new techniques, and new plugins with little to no luck. Every new piece of gear or software takes even more time to learn and only seems to leave you feeling more confused and frustrated. And maybe that's where you are right now. If you go down this route, you'll potentially even end up completely lost if you spend money and time on the wrong things. Option 2. You can learn a proven step-by-step system for getting radio-ready mixes from someone who has been doing this for 10 plus years. A system that has worked for tons of other people I've taught it to, and you can do it from your own home with nothing more than a laptop. Introducing the Release Ready Blueprint. This is why I created this. This is a step-by-step program for generating professional, radio-ready vocal mixes and music without wasting time and money on plugins and needless hardware. This is one of my students. He said, Marcus, I like your teaching style. Very clear and to the point. I particularly like that the sessions are brief and yet you bring all the important information. I didn't have the same experiences with other online courses I bought where the instructors repeat themselves very often and make you watch them doing their mixing or other activities for hours and hours. He said, learning a lot in much less time. Thank you, Marcus, for that. I am glad I was able to help you with this. Now look, what you get inside of the Release Ready Blueprint. This is a complete course. It is a bundle of not just one, but 2 of my premium courses. Mixing Mastery, you get Mixing Mastery, the video course. You also get Basic to Pro Vocal Production Bootcamp. You get a custom mix critique from me, high-quality wave stems you can download and follow along with. You also get my ultimate 101 guides to EQ and compression, and my Exact Studio One and Slate digital VMR presets that you can just swipe and use in your music to get great mixes immediately. Inside the Basic to Pro Vocal Production Bootcamp, which is one of the courses that you get inside of this bundle, it is a step-by-step video course to release ready vocals. You get my custom Slate digital VMR vocal presets as well, and custom Studio One vocal presets as well. You can just download those and use those immediately. Now, Mixing Mastery is the second course that you get, and it is a start-to-finish video course dedicated to mixing an entire song from start to finish. And in fact, there is weekly content until the mix is completely finished. You get custom Slate digital VMR presets and custom Studio One presets as well. One of my students, Jay, said, "It wasn't until beginning your course that I truly began to absorb the gravity of the importance of vocals with a much more deliberate understanding of the techniques to treat and mix vocals effectively and thoughtfully. Thank you for continuing to teach so many of us with your amazing content." Now, look, this is what you're getting if you enroll today. You get Mixing Mastery, a full video course worth well over $1,000 in value. My Vocal Production Bootcamp video course, also worth well over $1,000 in value. Both of those are in this bundle. You get a custom mix critique from me. You just send me your song, and I will give you tips, feedbacks, and pointers to make your next mix the best mix of your life. You'll also get Studio One presets, Slate Digital VMR presets, the stems to follow along with, and also my ultimate guides to EQ and compression. That's a total value of well over $2,500, but I'm not going to charge you the full amount. Now look, this is not for you if you're expecting a magic pill or a single button fix. If you expect results without putting in any effort, or if you just don't care about music, this is not for you. John said, "You simplify everything. You are the bar I want to reach, and you seem to understand everything. And best of all, your explanations are easy to understand." I'm very, very thankful for that. I'm glad that you're able to understand everything that I teach. Now look, I had two choices when building out the release-ready blueprint. Option one was to go as cheap as possible and try to sell as many as possible, and it really wouldn't incentivize me to stack on as much value as I possibly could. Now, option two, it requires a little higher investment, but in exchange, I can devote more resources to guarantee your success. But look, if all this program did was get your songs to sound professional and radio ready, would it be worth it? If all it did was get you excited to show your friends and family your songs, or even get other people to ask you to record and mix for them, and even pay you for it, would it be worth it? And if all it did is speed up your process and save you valuable time, would this program be worth it for the full amount? And honestly, all four of those things is what my system does for me and all of my students I teach it to. Now you can see why this is a great deal at $697, which is the price of all the programs and the bonuses individually for the general public. If you went to my website when things are opened and you tried to buy everything individually, this is what it would cost you. But because you took time to watch this webinar, you can get started now for just one payment of $297. This is what you need to do next. Click the Get Started button below and complete the checkout process. And then check your email and you can begin your journey. This is a screenshot of the back end of the Basic to Pro Vocal Production Bootcamp, one of the flagship courses you get inside of this bundle. You can see that there is a welcome video there. All the downloads are there. You can click on that, download everything you need to download, and be able to comment under each individual video and comment along with everybody else who's already inside the course. Now, this is a screenshot of Mixing Mastery. This is everything that I know about a complete step-by-step guide to getting radio-ready mixes, from mixing drums to mixing bass to mixing guitars to mixing vocals to even getting some mastering tips and techniques towards the end so that way you can get your music ready for Spotify, iTunes, and the radio. I go about how I think about going into a mix before I ever open the DAW, and I also talk about the color and the shape of sound. And yes, there is a color and a shape of sound. Now, just by the way, you also get a custom song critique from me. Look, I'll personally give you a custom critique on your music. All you have to do is email a link to your music, and I will give you my honest feedback and pointers so that way you can make your next mix the best mix of your life. And it's crazy. All of that is just for one payment of $297. Now, you have two choices. Look, option one, you can do nothing and not take this leap of faith. And you can lose time and money aimlessly figuring this out yourself. Now, option two is you can invest this small amount today in yourself compared to the amount of value you are getting in return and just give it a shot. And if it works, great. And look, if it doesn't work, just ask for your money back and I will rush it to you. No questions asked. And I have a 100% 30-day money-back guarantee. I actually like to call it my bear fight guarantee. If you wouldn't wrestle a bear to get this course and all of its bonuses back, then I don't deserve your money, period. This is truly no risk to you. In fact, actually, it puts all the risk on me exposing my proven strategies and tactics to create killer mixes and still giving you the opportunity to say, no thanks, at any time. So the real question is it worth just gambling a little bit of your time to potentially have a system for getting release-ready mixes for the rest of your life? There's two types of people. Those that make things happen in their music journey and those that watch others make things happen. And now, which one are you? Now, as promised, there is a download link at the top of this screen. You can download the 7 Golden Cheat Sheet Guide. It's absolutely free. It's up there. You can just type in that or go to producinginthebox.com/7EQ, and you can download the 7 Golden Frequencies checklist. I'm just going to leave the screen up while I go through some of the questions that you guys have. I'm going to move this over to here. And so now let's get into some of the questions. Clinton says, I also use Studio One. Thanks for pointing that out as an S1 option too. Yes, for the red light distortion. It's a great, great saturation tool. I absolutely love it. It's phenomenal. Daniel says, which is the best channel mode, mono or... I prefer just doing everything in stereo. So if you ever add stereo effects, okay, stereo is basically just 2 channels side by side, okay? With mono, this is a mono channel that's going on right now. So I'm talking to my microphone, it's a single channel going in. But I like to put it on a stereo channel, so if I add a stereo delay or reverb, then I get that nice lush sound. Richard says, could you also just parallel compress using one compressor and its mix knob? You could. I do a lot of that with parallel compression, just using the mix knob. In fact, UA has some great plugins where the mix knobs right in. I think all of Slate's has mix knobs built in, which is fun. The stock compressor inside of Studio One has that. And yeah, I will do that a lot, but I don't like to do it nearly as much as adding 2 separate compressors, because with a mix knob, you're still getting the original sound through, right? It's not, the mix knob isn't an amount of compression, it's just blending the original vocal in with the compressed vocal, and I'm still getting a lot of that inconsistency, and I just don't really like that too much with compression. I will definitely do a lot of that on drums and stuff as well. So, continue to put your questions in the chat as well. You can check out the page down below. If you click Get Started, and you can check that out. It'll open you up in a new tab. I fixed it for you, so that way you can just click it and go right open into a new tab to check that out. George says, great vocal sound, sir. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I've been crafting this technique for well over 10 years. John says, yes, the hour has been worthy of it. Awesome. Amazing. Daniel says, thanks for the tips. It's been a whole game changer. Awesome. Man, I am pumped about that. There's a lot to do as far as getting great vocal mixes and getting great sounds. And I mean, I just really scratched the surface of what you can do. You have reverb, you have delay, you have all of these really, really cool things inside of your DAW that you can use. And in fact, I mean, there's flangers and choruses and all this other stuff that I've used as well with good luck. And honestly, sometimes just going basic and just doing like I said, the 3 sisters: compression, EQ, saturation, and then go with a little bit of delay and then a little bit of reverb after that, and blending it in, it just always works. It just never not works. And so that's why I always go there. If you want to add a bit more, you can. If you want to take a bit out, a little bit less, you can. But it just always works. Yeah, Richard was saying the parallel compress using the compressor and its mix knob. You also said to achieve the same effect as two compressors. Yes, so there is a bit of a difference there. I just kind of want to dive back into that real quick because I think I didn't completely dive into that. Um, with two compressors, you're able to control it twice. I mean, or three compressors, you can control it three different times. You can control different parts of the mix if you want to. And yeah, with you're still blending it in with the mix knob. And then now it's a great technique and a great tool to make things sound very aggressive. So for example, I would like to compress a vocal very, very hard, slam it, and then I will turn the mix knob down just a little bit to get that vocal to kind of poke back through just a little bit. So that way it doesn't sound too obnoxious and too pumpy. But it'll make it sound like the vocalist is singing a lot harder than they actually are, which is just a great, great tool. And so, yeah, I will use parallel compression sometimes, especially if I'm doing like heated vocals, screaming vocals, even rap vocals and stuff like that. I will use a bit of parallel compression to get that done. That makes sense. Thanks for clearing that up. I noticed a lot of the tracks in the project were working on. Yes, they were working on all have low volume. Now I know what I can do to fix it. Yes. I like to make sure that things are kind of quiet. Honestly, I mean, we're living in such a nice digital age where you can just turning everything up. It just seems to work. And you don't have any problems whatsoever. There's no noise floor. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Elijah says, I use Studio One for my church's live stream, but I don't seem to get the vocals to cut through. Can you help me out? So yeah, so you're using, I'm going to need a little bit more context. You also said, I also get some mic bleeds. How do I fix that? So yeah, I'm very aware of how doing live stream and stuff like that goes. I need a little bit more context. So like, are you going into the board and then it's going to you? So, or is it getting split? So there's the main board that goes to front of house, and then it goes to you for streaming. And then, so you have basically like the raw stems or raw files, I guess, or raw signal from everybody. Yeah. John says, is anyone having difficulty accessing the guide link? Let me check and make sure that's www.producinginthe.com/7EQ. No caps or nothing. It's working on my end. Yeah, John, if you don't mind, just shoot me an email at producinginthe.box@gmail.com, and I'll make sure that I send that over to you if you're still having issues trying to download that. But yeah, make sure everything's typed in properly. And then also, Elijah, yeah, you said, I also get some mic bleeds. Now, how do I fix that? This is a problem because there's not much you can do, right? With live sound, you get what you get. So remember towards the beginning of this course where I was talking about how you can use dynamic microphones to kind of eliminate a lot of that sound. If you're using dynamic microphones, which I would assume you are, that's about as far as you can go. You can put some distance between you and the drummer, or your vocalist and the drummer, or the vocalist from each other and stuff like that, but you're going to just get some bleed, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world, and it's going to be all right. There's a way to control a little bit of bleed is putting a gate on that channel. That way, after a certain signal is being passed through, it opens the channel up, and then you can hear things. And then if it's below a certain amount, it's done. So when I come up to the vocal, you can see it's, everything's opening up and it's sounding great. And then if I was to stop talking, it would just completely shut off entirely and you couldn't hear the drums in the back. A gate's a really, really great tool for that. But you want to be careful on it because sometimes if you go too much and you try to gate it too hard, it starts to cut in and out and doesn't sound really good at all. For my church, I actually run into the board, and then the board goes to the stream. We've tried running a live stream directly as well, splitting it off. The only problem is volunteers and getting people in, and it's just a lot of work for a lot of people. And we get a decent sound by just running it into the board, and then just having a mix that just gets sent off there directly to the stream. So Yeah, make sure you guys are dropping your questions down in the chat as well as I'm going through. And yeah, Elijah, I want to make sure that I'm getting that properly, making sure that it's that I understood you properly there. John says you are making me understand vocal production way better. Man, I'm glad. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Clinton says on how much you don't have to spend on the mics and the wall sound pads. Yeah, it's not necessary. You can get a great mic and just not worry about it. Actually, you know what? I want to dive into that a little bit real quick while I'm here. I built a lot of my acoustic treatment. It's on the walls. And I used rock wool insulation and just built like a little 1x frame out of it, stuffed the insulation in the back, and put some fabric over top. And that's how I got what I got. So they sound great. I love them. And I just hung them up on the wall. I bought a couple too as well that are back there, and they sound really, really not good. And they were just not worth the purchase. So I highly recommend if you're just going to do acoustic treatment on the walls, build it yourself. All right, Elijah says, I use Studio One to stream, picking up all my signals from the Midas M32 Live. Oh, it's a great board. And serves the audience, and Studio One serves the live stream audience. Yes, that's a great place to be. To get your vocals to cut through in the mix, I would do two things. Number one is to make sure that there's nothing fighting your vocals. Guitars, electric guitars, especially in the CCM world, will fight with vocals. I'm a guitarist, and I am very well aware of how that works. And so you might want to cut some frequencies out, like maybe like that 1K-ish out of a guitar to kind of get your vocals to come through. Gain stage things properly to make sure that you kind of turn everything else down, turn the vocals up, and then use a bit of saturation to dig into the vocals a bit. Saturation App is a free plugin. Totally check that out. And let me know how that works. I'm really curious to make sure that works for you. Vocals, getting them to cut through is very important, especially if you're doing like a church live stream and stuff like that. People need to hear the vocals and to hear the lyrics. So, Richard says, didn't you say you were going to make a video on how you made them? Yes! I think I'm going to make a video on that, and I'm also going to make like a little blueprint guide that you guys can follow. I think it'll be fun. It's a very simple procedure. I mean, it's like, I'm not much of a carpenter, but it's easy enough to do. And so you just basically screw them together. I pre-drilled them, and then I screwed them together, and then I just put the insulation in the back, and then stapled some fabric over the top. It's a very simple setup, but I'm totally going to make a video on that. I need to make a video on that. Awesome. All right, this has been awesome. Just so you guys know, this entire deal that I'm running for my birthday is going to end. It's going to end Thursday. So if you don't get in, I obviously can't run this deal for forever. It's quite a bit. So in honor of my birthday, and we always like to celebrate my birthday in a week, at my when I was growing up, and all of my siblings, we always celebrated it for a week. I figured I'll leave it up until next Thursday, and then it's going to be taking down, and I don't know if I'll ever do this again. This was fun. I really, really enjoyed this. So I love that you guys spent time with me tonight. It's been amazing, and hopefully you guys have learned a lot about how to get great sounding vocal mixes inside of your music, how to get your music to sound like or your vocals to sound like it's part of your music and not just sing alongside it. This has been fun, and this is the kind of content that I wish I had when I started, like 10 years ago. Like, I really wish I had this kind of content when I started. It would have just been so much easier for me. I wouldn't have gone through the pain of trying and buying all different. I mean, you guys probably remember how YouTube was a few years ago, where it's people are just shelling out products and stuff like that. And, I do get a couple brand sponsorships on my channel, but I only take stuff that I've been working with, like I've been a customer of Slate Digital for like 7 years and I love their stuff. So I share that on the channel, and it's why I do what I do. You don't need the gear. You just need the ear. You need to know how to use the gear. So Richard says, thank you for all your time and dedication to the course. It's been helping me and my confidence to make better music. Yeah, Richard, awesome. Richard is inside Mixing Mastery. So if you guys are not inside Mixing Mastery, you're definitely going to want to get inside and then join Richard and everybody else inside Mixing Mastery, and you guys can comment below and on all the videos, and it's been fun. I said, I own Slate Digital All Access now, thanks to you. Awesome. Yeah, the All Access Pass is like the best deal in the music industry right now, as far as like plugins go. John says, I enjoyed it too and learned a lot. Thank you. This is priceless. Yes. This replay is going to be live for the next week. So you guys are going to get a replay link tomorrow sometime. So it'll be good to go. You guys will be ready to watch it. If you missed something, you're going to be able to replay it. It's going to be great. So, and you can go through and check things out. Maybe you missed something, or maybe you wanted to just repeat something. It's all going to be in there. I'm pumped about that. So awesome. Thank you guys for being here. I'm super thankful you've taken your time, your valuable time, and to spend it with me tonight. And just letting you know that this deal is ending. I obviously can't run it forever, but in honor of my birthday, I decided to have a great bundle deal on 2 of my most popular courses that people really seem to love, and they're getting a lot of value out of, and they're getting a lot of great results out of it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for learning with me as well. And yeah, this is the stuff I wish I had 10 years ago when I started. So I hope I was able to maybe break some myths, change your beliefs a little bit, and really just dive into this with you. Thank you for being here, and I will talk to you guys later. Make sure you click the Get Started button below and check out that page if you haven't already. So thank you for being here, and now as always, go create.